Summon the Spectre. Summon the Spectre. Summon the Spectre. Summon the Spectre.
What is good, ladies and gentlemen? For those of you that may be new here, my name is JariSpectre, aka the Spectre, Jaden Mercer, inside of the pro wrestling ring, and I want to be the first to welcome each and every single one of you right here inside of the Spectreverse. Thank you guys for tuning in for this night one of SummerSlam post show, wherever you may be watching or listening from. Let's be real here. I'll be completely honest. I am fairly new to this YouTube thing, and I am not shy about it in any way, shape, or form. I am just a pro wrestler looking at opportunities for life after wrestling once that time comes. But as far as what we received tonight for night one of SummerSlam, I will be the first to say that tonight, my personal opinion, I did feel like tonight's show was better than night one of WrestleMania. So that right there is a thumbs up in my book. There was some good on the show. There was some bad. And we are going to discuss all the possibilities, all the different scenarios from start to finish. And we will get there in a little bit. But like I said before, this night one of SummerSlam was easily better than night one of WrestleMania. First and foremost, it felt like, and I can be completely off on this, at least from my personal viewing of it, it felt like the commercial breaks were not shoved down our throats the entirety of the show. I felt like ever since they learned from WrestleMania, they have been spacing them out perfectly. I mean, we saw it at Backlash. We said, hey, this is a lot more tolerable. And I'm very, very happy to at least agree with that. And on top of that, each match had well-deserved time to deliver on tonight's show. As far as the main event goes, Brock Lesnar, Femi, Hell in a Cell, I will be one, if not numerous, of other people in this community talking about it. This did not need Hell in a Cell. It did not need the Hell in a Cell stipulation. I will be completely honest there. And my reasoning behind that is, although the Hell in a Cell is used to blow off feuds, I don't feel as if this feud was necessary in order to do that. And that's no knock on Brock Lesnar. It's no knock on Femi. As a matter of fact, this feud has been one of the brightest spots on WWE television ever since the build towards WrestleMania. But the thing about what we got tonight was, in the fans' eyes, in my personal eyes watching the show, we had a certain expectation as far as Hell in a Cell. What CM Punk and what Drew McIntyre did years ago, or at least what feels like a lifetime ago now, what they did inside Hell in a Cell after Vince McMahon brutally, and I mean brutally, destroyed that gimmick, what they were able to do was to re-inject some life into that stipulation. And we were very, very happy about that. I will gladly say that Drew McIntyre and CM Punk inside Hell in a Cell was one of the best blow-off feuds. Hell, it was one of the best matches of that year. But as far as tonight goes, I do not think that Brock Lesnar and Femi needed a Hell in a Cell to at least sell this final blow-off of their feud. And in my eyes, I was personally thinking that we were going to see the true retirement of Brock Lesnar tonight in his hometown after the Hell in a Cell match. Although we got a passing of the torch, which I posted on Twitter, I said this was the true passing of the torch to Femi. He is the new Brock Lesnar. And I was realistically thinking we were going to get some sort of Brock Lesnar retirement, but considering what we got at WrestleMania and how TKO, I can only assume, started just throwing a shit fit in those corporate offices about Brock Lesnar taking business into his own hands and being like, no, you will not retire. We still need you. We need you to put asses in seats. We will pay you whatever you want in order to keep doing this. They shut that shit down so quick. And I could be completely wrong on that, but just from my eye viewing it, I guarantee you that's the case. But tonight was just a true passing of the torch from the old guard to the new guard. And we saw it not more than once. It was Brock Lesnar and Femi. It was the Bellas and Paige to Fatal Influence, which I will be completely honest, as far as that match goes, that 6-woman tag match, that did not need to be on this show. Flat out. It really did not. This could have been saved for a Smackdown. Their story did not need to be on a SummerSlam. Granted, you want to push your future, which is great. Everybody should want to push their future in some way, shape, or form. But I do feel like from a night one capacity, this is your second biggest show of the year. There was not enough story going into that 6-woman tag to at least put it on this show justifiably. That's just my personal opinion. People can love it, hate it, whatever that may be. That is completely fine. That is completely up to them. This is just my personal opinion. But I will say this show did have some good. CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, although the story and the build going into this match tonight was completely underwhelming, in a sense of there really was no story, there was no beef, there was no animosity. It was just friends that slowly started to become not friends because of the title. That was the story that they told. However, that's not the story that they told from an in-ring aspect. Tonight, CM Punk and Cody Rhodes paid homage to the old school of wrestling, to the 80s, the 90s. And now, granted, I know a lot of fans are not used to that old school mentality and that old school storytelling of wrestling as far as the in-ring aspect. The constant selling a body part. The constant going back to said body part. The psychology behind that. the fatigue that sets in as the match goes on and on and on, as the body part starts taking more and more damage. They told a masterclass tonight. And whether you love it, hate it, whether you find it boring or not, that's what happened. And it was really good. Now, I will throw a caveat in here. I do feel like this match, although it was good, it could have been better. It could have meant more. And that's if they had proper build going into tonight's matchup, which they didn't. And it seems like this might be a story that they are definitely going to revisit down the line, whether that's WrestleMania, whether that's late next year, what if it's early next year, it could be 2 years down the line. This is just the blueprint of what we can expect between Punk and Cody. Speaking of that match, we had the return of the Viper, Randy Orton. As the match progressed and the finish was about to happen, the ref goes down. We'll talk about that as we break down that match. Ref is down. Cody eats a GTS. Punk is fatigued out of his mind. And then through the crowd comes one Randy Orton, slides into a massive pop from the Minnesota crowd, delivers one singular RKO, winks at the camera, and runs out. And that was done perfect to execution. What this means is that the feud between Cody and Randy is not stopping anytime soon. I've said that on this show numerous of times. This, what we got at WrestleMania, although it's not what we wanted, it's what we got. But now I feel like because they're willing to revisit it, maybe this time around they'll be able to do it justice. And that's just being optimistic. I have no faith that that's going to be the case, but it's willing to give it a little bit of hope. As far as tonight goes, I will say, the 6-man tag match, I'm glad that the Bloodline ended up taking the L as a fan. I'm very much on board of, hey, let's give LA Knight his flowers finally. I feel like it's something that has been long overdue at this point. And I just personally feel like it is time to pull the trigger on LA Knight, whether that's Money in the Bank coming up in the next month or two, whether that's finally giving him that true main event spot. And I'm glad that we're at least kind of working that way to it. But I feel like it is time to pull the trigger on LA Knight, now more than ever. And then we had the debut, or the re-debut, of Nick Aldis in the ring. And man, oh man, for true wrestling fans out there, seeing Nick Aldis in a WWE ring as the national treasure, going out there against a guy like Gunther, him just being exactly what he was in TNA, in NWA. That was such a beautiful sight to see him come out to Oasis of all things. I feel like this is the first of many matches that we are going to eventually get to as far as Nick Aldis goes. And as far as Gunther, hey, he won the match. He's got some more he's got more momentum going his way. And it was definitely the right move. I will say, as far as that match goes, Nick Aldis, and I'll just, I'll throw my story in here too. When you're out of the ring for a good chunk of time, whether that's, in my case, 14 months, for him, it was 3 years, you're going to have ring rust. You're not going to be in total, quote unquote, ring shape. But what he did tonight with Gunther was absolutely phenomenal. The match was exactly what it needed to be from a wrestling standpoint and from a wrestler standpoint when calling matches and producing matches. That was as simple can possibly be. And they set Nick Aldis up for pure success. And I'm very, very happy for Nick. I'm happy for Gunther. I'm happy for all parties involved. That worked out perfectly. And I'm very, very happy to see Nick Aldis back in the ring. And then we had the women's championship match. We had Io Sky and Liv Morgan, which they actually went out and they were the open of the show. They actually went out there and they were given a good chunk of time. And they pretty much, I wouldn't say went balls to the wall, but because of the chunk of time they were given, they went out there and they actually produced. And they produced fairly well. So I'm very, very happy for them. And as far as an overall night one standpoint of the show, like I said, it was better than WrestleMania night one. And I do feel like they're trying to move in the right direction as far as excitement goes. But now we need to see that on a week-to-week basis. We can't be going into your second biggest show of the year and trying to get people to care. You can't be doing that. You need to be building it week after week or week after every other week. You need to be constantly building towards something, and you need to be doing that by putting your best foot forward consistently. It's a big issue with WWE going into last year, and now we're seeing it a lot more this year. They need to be more consistent. As far as a grade on this show, on a scale of 1 to 10, I would give this a 6.5, 7. And because overall, I did think it was a thumbs up show. However, there was still plenty of bad on this show. And that's why I'm not going to give it like an 8 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10. Did I overall enjoy myself with this show? I did. I very much did. There were a couple points where I was just kind of like, yeah, whatever. It is what it is. But now we need to see this being played out week to week. Tonight, in my personal opinion, did feel as premium as you could possibly get without exceeding WrestleMania. But now what does that mean for everything else going forward? If this is the bar that you're trying to set for the rest of the year and for going forward, that's a very low bar to set, considering you call you guys the #1 pro wrestling company in the world. That's just my God honest opinion. But let's just go ahead and let's hop right in to the night one post show. I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me on the Saturday night, wherever you may be watching or listening from. If you are new here, welcome to the Spectreverse. I am JariSpectre, aka the Spectre, Jaden Mercer, inside of the pro wrestling ring. And also, make sure you guys hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, turn on the bell for notifications. If you are a fan of pro wrestling and you want to hear it from the eyes of a pro wrestler, this is the place to be. I upload a weekly podcast every single week, and I would love to have you guys subscribe and come stick around. We're building something from the ground up here, and I put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in this. Also, because we are live, and I don't usually go live a whole lot, please make sure you chat. I will read off chats as they come through. Let me know your thoughts on night one, or just anything point blank period. But without further ado, let's go ahead and let's start this post show. SummerSlam night one. Show started with a video package. It showed Justin Jefferson of the Minnesota Vikings trying to hype up the show for night one. As an NFL fan, I was very much happy to at least see some sort of football reference, because for those football lovers, it's right around the corner. We've had an itch to scratch, and I'm very, very much looking forward to just college football, NFL Sunday. Like, that's my bread and butter. I'm very much looking forward to that. But as far as the video package itself, it was very meh. It didn't really build any anticipation, didn't really get anybody excited. So it just was kind of there. Open of the show. Io Sky versus Liv Morgan for the Women's World Championship. The match itself was very, very good. I will say they gave the women some time. They went out there and performed. Everybody was there for their spots. Nothing looked sloppy. The pacing was exactly what it needed to be. And everybody was just on cue the entire time. As far as the match, there was a back and forth start by both women. After Io shine, Liv cut her off while she was on the barricade. During the heat, Liv delivered Three Amigos, paying homage to the one and only Eddie Guerrero. Ended up going into a double down when Liv Morgan was going for, I forget what move it was exactly, but she ended up getting rolled through and a double stomp by Io. Io then hits her regular comeback, followed by a sunset powerbomb to the outside. At this point, Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez pop out to ringside. Roxanne pops up and distracts the referee. Raquel then runs in and knocks Io off of the top rope for a 2 count. Io fights off the Judgment Day and sends Liv Morgan onto the outside onto all of them. Io goes up and hits a moonsault onto both Roxanne and Raquel, but Liv Morgan slid into the ring. Liv then goes up and Io shuts her down and hits a nice Spanish fly for a 2 count. At that point, they deliver some bouillets. Liv gets the one up on that. Io then hits a fairy tale ending followed by a backbreaker. Liv then goes for Oblivion and gets hit by a nice facebuster. And then that was immediately followed by an Oblivion by Liv Morgan for a very close 2 count. Liv then goes for Oblivion again, but goes through the ropes to the apron. Io hits a German suplex onto the apron, followed by a double knees next to the steel post. Io then goes up for a moonsault and gets hit with the boots while doing the flip into one Oblivion, which she immediately no-sells, which actually looked kind of cool, but then was immediately followed up by another Oblivion for the 1, 2, 3. Liv Morgan retains the Women's World Championship. Considering that she has not had a single defense in over 100 days, one that's just baffling in my mind. Because how do you not have one of your top women's wrestlers with no defenses for 3 months? Little over 3 months. That's diabolical work. So I'm hoping they can at least build to something substantial. Whether you need to build people up on your roster just to give her something to work with, or hopefully we see Stephanie Vaquer on the other side waiting to eventually reignite that feud. The next match we had the Usos and Jacob Fatu versus Royce Keys, Solo Sikoa, and L.A. Knight. The Usos and Fatu come out first, and they make a very Gears of War inspired entrance since that was the sponsor of the match. It actually looked pretty sick, I will say that. Babyfaces then come out. Royce Keys comes out first to literally zero pop, which is sad because around these parts, we love Royce Keys. He is very, very underrated. And granted, WWE Creative has not given him the proper time to shine. Out comes Solo Sikoa next for a mild pop, but still kind of around the same. And then comes LA Knight, who gets a huge pop during his entrance. Bell rings, there was a hot start. Solo then shuts down Jey Uso and runs back the yeet thing, which was absolutely fantastic. It was really, really funny. Solo Sikoa, you look at like where he was 2 years ago versus now. The man went from not saying a single word and just having his arms crossed like this to being one of the most charismatic and funny wrestlers on your roster. But now the thing that worries me about Solo is they're going to keep him in that realm. The last thing you want is for him to be another R-Truth. We love R-Truth, but at the same time, Solo is still good enough where you can take him seriously. Compared to a guy like R-Truth, where you can take seriously, but then after a couple weeks, everybody's just going to go back to, yeah, he's the comedy wrestler. So I hope that doesn't happen with Solo. After the yeets, Fatu then comes in and no-sells a Samoan drop from Solo and then delivers one for himself for the cutoff. Royce Keys takes the first hot tag and delivers some very good offense. And like I said before, he's good. He just lacks charisma right now. And he lacks some sort of creative direction for his character, which sucks because he's very, very good. So I hope that we eventually see the growth over time for him. Like I said, he delivered some very good offense. And then Keys hit an avalanche power slam onto Jimmy Uso off the top rope. But it took a while to get into that position, which I think that was mainly like, I don't want to say it was his fault or Jimmy's fault. It was a little bit of both. Jimmy was like laid very weirdly on the top rope and his leg was kind of like stuck on the bottom rope. And Keys was obviously trying to power him up, but he was like hunched so far back where you're not going to have enough leverage to hoist him up, where you have to get nice and close and tight. So it took a while to get there, but once he got there and delivered the avalanche slam, it looked really good. He got a 2 count out of that. And then after that, LA Knight takes the real hot tag and hits his vintage comeback on Jey Uso. Jey hits a spear on LA for a 2 count. LA Knight then hits a superplex, which is followed up by a Uso splash, followed up by a rock bottom from Solo into a DDT by Jacob Fatu. And then this is where the match really starts to break down into the finish. Spinebuster by Royce Keys. Both Fatu and Keys go to the outside. Keys is selling towards the barricade. Here comes Fatu for the running spear through the barricade. Royce Keys catches him and delivers this like almost like power slam over the barricade. And the way Royce landed, I was concerned for him. Because one, it looked scary, but at the same time, it looked sick as fuck. He delivers this avalanche and like literally takes the momentum from Fatu. He takes the momentum from Fatu, pops over the barricade, and they both land somewhat safely. It was wild. Definitely got a pop out of me. Uso then hits a splash on LA Knight for a 2 count. Usos call for the 1D, but Solo pops up on the apron, hits the Samoan spike on Jimmy, followed up by LA Knight's BFT onto Jey Uso for the 1, 2, 3. Like I said in the intro, I hope this eventually gets LA Knight to Money in the Bank, have him win the briefcase, because, God, he has gone for far too long out of that main event scene, and right now, that's exactly where he needs to be. Next match we had, Gunther versus Nick Aldis. I know a lot of people had a lot of expectations for this match. I kept mine very, very minimal. Gunther comes out first, and then Nick Aldis comes out as the national treasure. It was very, very cool to see on WWE television. It was a very slow start. Definitely a very slow start, but that's how you have to handle matches like that from somebody who hasn't been in the ring for that long. It's been 3 years since he's had a legitimate match. Granted, he's had training prior to, but, you know, it's a lot different training versus being out in front of a live audience, especially one that big for SummerSlam. So the nerves are definitely going to get there. There was a sloppy shoulder tackle by Gunther and Nick Aldis, definitely showing some of the ring rust, but at the same time, like, you know, take it with a grain of salt. Nick gets slammed, followed by an overpowering suplex from Nick Aldis, which looked very, very good. Gunther then bullies him with chops and paces the match down perfectly, slowing it down for the heel to just completely dominate, take control, pretty much telling the story of, yep, I'm going to cakewalk him. You know, he has no reason to be in this ring with me right now. Gunther is so good at doing that. He's so good at pacing his heel heat. As the match progresses, Nick was slowly getting better and better. He hit 2 elbow drops off the top rope, followed by a Kingsland Cloverleaf, but Gunther eventually got to the ropes. Gunther then locks in a sleeper. Nick immediately reverses the sleeper, locks in one of his own, but then immediately gets reversed again into the sleeper, and eventually he ends up tapping out. Gunther, with this win, at least carries momentum going forward as far as his placement on SmackDown and still technically in the main event scene. And what this does for Nick Aldis is it gets that first match of being quote unquote on the roster out of the way. You know, you can be proud of this one, you can shove it to the side, but this is what you get to work with going forward. This is what you get to build on. He looked very, very good in the ring tonight, but now you get to build on it. And that's very, very cool. After the match, his wife, Mickie James, and his son, Donovan, come out and support him in the ring. It was a very, very cool moment. I'm sure that meant so much to him. Next match, the match that I personally feel like should not have been on the show. 6-woman tag match, Paige and the Bella Twins versus Fatal Influence. Bell rings, it was a hot start from Fatal Influence. Heat by Fatal Influence. Reed stomped Brie Bella's head onto the steps, followed by Jacy Jayne hitting a running cannonball onto Brie Bella through the steps. Nikki takes the hot tag, and she does all right. You know, it's still not great, but it was all right. Fallon and Reed hit a very nice tag team move for a 2 count, and then immediately gets broken up by Paige after that. Rolling forearm by Jacy Jayne onto Paige for the win. Literally, like I said, that was the highlights of this match. There was nothing about this match other than, hey, these 3 women, Fatal Influence, they're going to be your next big things. This is going to be your women's version of the Shield going forward. And considering how I talked about Fatal Influence when I first started the show, I will gladly, hold this hat and say, I was wrong. I was so wrong. Fatal Influence is very, very good. And then after the match, Nikki and Brie Bella attacked Paige, officially turning heel. Obviously, the story with what happened with Nikki's injury at WrestleMania and building to this, the story writes itself. The problem is nobody gives a fuck about Paige or the Bella Twins. There's no other way to sugarcoat it. That's just what it is. Nobody cares. Cool, main event time. CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, WWE Championship. Cody comes out first with his Street Fighter inspired entrance since they're promoting Cody Rhodes in Street Fighter for the second movie. Same with Roman. They very much nonchalantly said, yeah, Roman's in it too. CM Punk comes out second, and he's wearing a green jacket that says 20 on the back, which represents 20 years from being in WWE, because I believe he joined in 2006, if I remember correctly. And granted, they didn't count the 10 years that he was quote-unquote gone, but that's still 20 years. The match starts. Quick and angry start from Punk. He ends up taking control of the arm after a kick to it. Cody then works a headlock while Punk works the arm. Cody hits a suicide dive, followed by a springboard clothesline off the barricade by Punk. After that, Punk delivers a leg lariat to Cody Rhodes, but holds his left leg as he came down awkward. Which, I mean, in wrestling, everybody knows if you work the left arm, you work the right. If you work the left arm, if you work the left leg, chances are it's a work. Not every time, but 99.9% of the time it's a work. So he hits the leg lariat. He's holding his left leg. He delivers a corner knee, and then Cody then, as he was going for the bulldog, hits him with a knee breaker, followed up by a dragon screw. Cody then goes for a disaster kick, but gets kicked out of midair, followed by the bulldog into the Macho Man elbow. CM Punk then goes for the go to sleep. Cody elbows out. Cody cutter for a very close 2 count. Disaster kick by Cody for a 2 count. I feel like the pacing of that was a little weird. You probably could have just had it go boom, 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 but that's besides the point. Cody then stays on the attack and hits a super Cody cutter for a 2 count. He then goes for crossroads, and Punk kicks Cody right in the shoulder, shoves him shoulder first into the turnbuckle, goes for the go to sleep, but gets caught in a figure 4, and then eventually they work towards the rope, which CM Punk then grabs it. Cody goes for figure 4 again, but gets wrapped up in an anaconda vice. Cody then gets the rope. CM Punk then goes for a go to sleep. Cody rolls out, but gets locked into an anaconda vice again. Cody then rolls out and hits Crossroads for a very close near fall. Both men go up top, but Punk elbows Cody down and hits a very wonky and disgusting looking moonsault onto Cody Rhodes. Listen, Phil, Punk, if you somehow stumble onto this, man, you're what, 46, 48 years old? You don't need to do moonsaults anymore, dude. It's okay. We know what you're capable of, and you don't need to do it. I appreciate that you tried it, but hey, leave it for the acrobats, man. You don't need to do that. After that, it's just crazy to say in 2026 that CM Punk went for a moonsault. And technically, he got it. Next, Punk hits the go to sleep with his bad leg, and he sells it for a little bit, goes for the cover. Cody Rhodes kicks out at 2. Both men go to the outside. Cody takes over and clears the announce table, but Punk rolls him back in and immediately hits go to sleep. But Cody then grabs the rope at the count of 2. After that, Punk goes for the Macho Man elbow off the top rope through the table, but Cody rolls out of the way, and Punk takes a very, very nasty landing through the announce table. Cody then goes for a super cutter, but accidentally hits the referee, which actually didn't even look like a true Cody cutter. He kind of was just like a flying forearm or a flying European uppercut to the referee. So the ref goes down. CM Punk then capitalizes and hits go to sleep. And Cody then, he stands up. He's kind of like no selling, falls right back on the CM Punk, goes up for it again, hits another one. But then Cody goes and reverses it right into a Crossroads. Punk rolls to the outside. Cody's down. The ref is down. Out through the crowd runs the Viper. Randy Orton slides into the ring. Big pop from the crowd. Delivers an RKO, winks at the camera, and runs off. CM Punk then rolls right back into the ring. Hits a go to sleep. The ref then wakes up for the 1, 2, 3. CM Punk is still your WWE champion. And Cody Rhodes, at this rate now, we can only imagine, all eyes are locked in onto Randy Orton. The match itself was very, very good. I will say it was very much an homage to the old school, very old school mentality, very slow pacing, very methodical, a lot of storytelling throughout the match. I wish that we had some story and some build or something to go off of going into the match. The match itself was fine. It was very solid. I just wish we had substance going into it. And at that point, that falls on your writers and that falls on Triple H. Plain and simple. It's not a knock on any of the wrestlers. It's a knock on the creative. It's like, how do you not have a true, legitimate story for your main title, the WWE Championship, going into your second biggest show of the year? That's just very ass backwards in my mind. And then we had our main event. Main event between Brock Lesnar and БЙБ Femi inside of the Hell in a Cell. This match did not need to be inside Hell in a Cell. It really, really didn't. БЙБ comes out and he starts hot when the bell rings with some running European uppercuts. Brock then counters it with Suplex City. БЙБ no-sells after the third German suplex. Suplex by БЙБ to Brock on the outside and then throws him into the steps. He sets up a table on the cell and throws Brock through the table into the cell. Brock then pops up and drills БЙБ with the steps, delivers a fourth German, and attacks him with a chair. He then suplexes him onto the chairs. Brock goes for the F5, but БЙБ drops him with a standing spinebuster. running Euros from Femi. Brock then goes for the F5. Oba slips out. Choke slam, followed by a chuck from Femi. At that point, Oba is calling for fall from grace, and he ends up hitting it on not Femi. He ends up hitting it on Brock Lesnar for a 2 count. Brock then pops up and hits 3 F5s for a 2 count on Oba. More chair shots from Brock to Oba. Brock then rips the canvas and exposes the mat. He rips the mat off and exposes the wood underneath the ring. He then hikes up Oba for the F5, but decides to slide him down and delivers Undertaker's tombstone pile driver onto the wood. And he does the Undertaker's signature pin after the tombstone for the 1-2 kick out by Oba. Oba immediately hulks up and delivers a fall from grace to Brock Lesnar for the 1-2-3. Oba Femi is officially a man-made in the eyes of Triple H, the creator of TKO and the WWE. He is a man-made, and realistically, it will not be very, very long before we see that man in the main event scene. After the match, Brock Lesnar grabs a microphone. He tells Oba to get back into the ring. I thought this was going to be his retirement speech. It ended up not being that. But then Brock says he is officially the past and Oba is the future. And then that is how the show goes off the air for night 1 of SummerSlam. The Hell in a Cell did not need to be on this show. Hell in a Cell is for a true blood feud that is finally getting blown off. This had the makings to being a true blood feud, but it wasn't. And that's pretty much all you can expect when it comes to Brock Lesnar. He is by far one of the greatest athletes to ever walk this earth. However, because of that, he's not going to be there on a week-to-week-to-week basis. At least not like he was back in the early 2000s. Brock is special. And I'm still like baffled in my mind as to why he quote-unquote retired at WrestleMania to follow up maybe not even, a little over a month or 2 later, and to immediately just play it off like it never happened. Like, something about that part of the story and that not being fully answered or justified, it ruined the spectacle. At least for me personally. I don't know about you guys, but for me, something about that just didn't seem right. And kudos to him for putting over Oba Femi the way that he did. Granted, did he need to do that? No. Brock can do exactly what Brock wants to do. But the fact that he took time to put over Oba Femi and to very much solidify him as, hey, I can't keep doing this anymore. This is going to be your guy going forward. It's definitely a nod of the head to Brock Lesnar in that sense. But because we never got a true nail to the coffin of the career of Brock Lesnar, that question just still remains unanswered. Why did he retire at WrestleMania just to come back and do this? And if we had answers to that, all of this might have been a little bit different. But because we didn't, there's not much we can really go off of at this point, other than, yeah, we know that Oba's that guy. But now what about Brock? Is he done? Is he going to go back to the woods to keep hunting? Is he going to go back to his farm? What happens to Brock? These are questions that were never answered. And, it's not wrong for me to at least ask those questions again. But overall, from a overall standpoint, in ring, tonight was a thumbs up show. I at least give it a 6.5, 7 at most out of 10. As far as the build goes, this was easily one of the worst builds to a SummerSlam that I can remember as of late. Especially considering the shit that we got on Monday and Friday, the go-home shows, to get people excited for this, which we'll discuss on this week's episode of the Spectreverse podcast, which will be coming out sometime early this week. But man, I will say I am happy that it was better than night one of WrestleMania. I can at least say that wholeheartedly. But that's going to do it for the review of night one of WrestleMania. Please let me know what you thought of night one. If I am completely wrong, please throw it in the chat. We'll discuss it. And in the meantime, let's go ahead and let's just go and get our plugs right out the way. Make sure you guys follow me on all social media platforms. X, Facebook, Instagram, at JariSpectre. Links will be in the description down below. If you enjoyed tonight's review and you enjoyed me talking about this, hit the like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you love pro wrestling. I am a pro wrestler, so I at least know what I'm talking about as far as an in-ring standpoint and a little bit of behind the scenes. And if you're into that kind of stuff, this is the channel for you. And we would love to have you stick around. Obviously, I've only been doing this for about 7 months, on and off, not even. Been just at least once a weeking it. Granted, I'm not as big as guys like JD, as Solomonster, as Ross, or any guys that do this as their full-time job, but that's the goal I want to get to. Because once my career is done in wrestling, this is what I'm going to pursue. And I would love to have you guys stick around. I would very, very much appreciate it. Make sure you guys also follow the Spectreverse page on Facebook at the Spectreverse. Anytime I post my weekly podcast, the Spectreverse podcast, it will go there. Anytime I go live, it will go first there. Make sure you guys, like I said, follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And if you're into video games, make sure you guys also subscribe to my gaming channel at JariSpectre Live. I don't at least go live consistently enough on that channel, but anytime I do, that's the place you want to be. And if you really like me, go subscribe to that channel. And with that being said, let's throw it over to you guys. Anyone that is watching that watched night one of SummerSlam, what did you think of the show? Please go ahead and throw it in the chat. Let's discuss it. Would love to just hear your guys' thoughts and opinions on it. Was I completely on par? Was I completely off? This is the time for you. The floor is yours. And if we don't get anything, then we will call this a stream. But yeah, like I said, this show was very much better than night one, both from an on-screen and an in-ring standpoint. However, something about it still, it definitely could use some improvement. That's my biggest thing. This was good, but it can be better. And I think people are expecting that. Anybody got any thoughts and opinions on the show? It doesn't look like anybody's got any thoughts and opinions. So, at this rate, that's going to do it for tonight's stream. I want to thank you guys for tuning in and watching with me. And until episode 29, we will see each and every single one of you next time. Peace out.